of innocence. In this series the black shirt represents the cause of the losses. The cause is sin. Before considering the consequences of sin, two questions must be answered. 1. What is sin? To answer this question it is good to remember the last talk of the previous series, God is holy, holy, holy. We conclude that God's holiness is so pure that God is impeccable and incapable of evil. His holiness burns so much that God does not tolerate any kind of sin. Therefore, the sinner has no access to God. To understand sin we first need to take into account the purity of God. Secondly, we need to consider the origin of sin. Sin began with Lucifer, who was probably the most beautiful and the most powerful of the angels that God created. However, Lucifer was not happy with his position and wanted to be equal to God and raise his own throne on high. That was his ruin and the beginning of sin. 12. How you fell from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning. You were cut down to the ground, you who weakened the nations. 13. You who said in your heart, I will ascend to heaven. I will set up my throne on high above the stars of God, and I will sit on the mountain of the testimony on the sides of the north. 14. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds, and I will be like the Most High. 15. But you were brought down to hell. Isaiah 14. 12-15 RV 60. He rebelled against the holy God, and, as a result, initiated the curse of sin. Renamed Satan or the devil, he brought sin to humanity in the Garden of Eden, where he tempted Adam and Eve with the same lie, you will be like God. Later, we will read the story in Genesis, the first book of the Bible. What is sin? Sin is rebellion against the holy God. 2. What does sin have to do with me? To answer this question, I want to ask you another one. Do you know a person who has not sinned? The answer is a strong no. There is no such thing as a person who has not sinned. The Bible says, there is no distinction. For all have sinned. Romans 3. 22-23. It also says, there is not one righteous person, not even one. Romans 3. 10. No one achieves the pure holiness of God. Everyone falls short of the glory of God. Romans 3. 23b. What does sin have to do with me? Well, all because we are all sinners. I am not the exception. You are not the exception. We are sinners. We have put on the black shirt. We are not sinners because we sin because we are sinners. Our inclination as human beings is to sin, that is, to rebel against the holy God. In Genesis 3, we will read when Adam and Eve were tempted 160 by Satan and rebelled against God. That rebellion transformed Adam's nature. Since then, all his children, all generations are born with the same rebellious nature. Through Adam we inherit both bodily and spiritual aspects. The Bible says, through one man sin entered the world, and through sin death entered. This is how death came to all humanity, because all sinned. Romans 5. 12. We are sinners because our parents are all. We're sinners. We wear